Today, we're going to be talking about the homeless situation here in Manchester. Over the past few weeks, I've been speaking with various homeless charities, shelters, and homeless people themselves to get an idea of the current situation. With homeless figures rising right across the country, I aim to find out why so many people have found themselves homeless and what is currently being done to help them. I was able to gain an interview with Alex Delap, Head of Homeless Services at Manchester City Council, to see what help and support the council are able to offer. I was also able to witness firsthand life in a homeless shelter, swapping my warm, comfortable bed for a sleeping bag and a very cold floor. I started my journey at the Barnabas Centre on Bloom Street. I was able to speak with Peter Green, Project Director at Barnabas. Here he explains more about the amazing work that they do. How did the idea of Barnabas come about? Where did it come from?
I became a Christian in 1988, and God prompted me to go onto the streets with a bag of sandwiches and a thermos flask, and that was the start of it.
As simple as that?
Simple as that.
How do people find out about the service that you offer, and what's the procedure for people coming to the centre?
The doors are open for anyone. Doesn't matter if it's black, white or polka dot, whatever the beliefs are, it doesn't matter at all. We're open and love everyone and treat everyone the same. The guys that's working on the streets and the drug addicts, alcoholics, prostitutes, they get to hear about us over the grapevine. We have people referred to us from Manchester's Housing at First Street, victim support, citizens advice bureaus, all sorts of places.
What constitutes homelessness?
Constitutes homelessness? That's an interesting one. A homeless person, there's varying types of homelessness. There's people who live in bed and breakfast accommodations. They're homeless still. There's rough sleepers. There's people who are sofa surfing. Those make up homelessness.
How off do you think the council figures are? Because obviously they release a strategy I think they release it every year.
We're supposed to be, yes. Well, they do well off mark, but there's limitations to where they can go. There's limitations on the council staff knowing where to go. They'll work within a radius, and they can't go in places like squats. So the figures are just totally well out, and the council know it. I'm sure they know it.
What are the circumstances in which people can find themselves becoming homeless?
We see men whose marriages are broken, family ties eradicated, and that's one of the main causes, I think, of the more mature generation. A couple break up, a family breaks down. The man usually finishes up out on the street or trying to get some alternative accommodation, whereas the wife and mother will stay at the matrimonial home. Poor guys left to rough it. We've seen people who've lost their businesses, people who have lost their jobs to get the main source of income, can't afford to pay the mortgages, can't afford to pay the rents. Some people live in quite a nice rented home, but the departments certainly won't pay the full cost of rent, and if you've got no income, you're out.
How do you encourage people to be self-supporting at the same time as handing out help?
It is just by love and having patience with people and encouraging them to do something for themselves. If, for example, they need to fill an application form in for funding for housing benefits or whatever, we encourage them to go to the job centre and fill it in themselves there. If they don't want to, we encourage them to fill it in here on their own, and we go through it with them. But they've got to give in order for us to continue to give out.
During my time researching this documentary, I was overwhelmed with how much time and energy people are prepared to sacrifice to help others in need around them. One group that surprised me in particular were a very dedicated collection of students from Manchester University's Student Union. The union runs a street outreach project where students roam the streets of Manchester every night, handing out food, hot drinks and much appreciated conversation. I joined up with the street support team during one of their support runs, and I also spoke with Jack Burke, the student action coordinator responsible for making sure the support continues smoothly.
I'm Jack Burke. I'm the student action intern at the University of Manchester Students' Union. I coordinate about 26 community projects a week and about another 5 or 6 big one-off ones across the year. The variety is huge. It's everything from homeless soup kitchens and outreach through to projects with people with learning disabilities.
How well is it sort of attended from students? How well is it sort of received, getting involved?
We're oversubscribed, massively oversubscribed, especially for working with the homeless.
How's this all this funded?
We're funded by a student union grant. So we have in the past got grants from like that big lottery and like applied for other trust funds and things, but in the current climate we're entirely self-funded by the Students' Union.
Can you tell me a little bit more about what I personally am getting involved with this afternoon?
The first thing I think that is very, very important to note when you're doing the homeless outreach projects that we do is that we are not by any stretch of the imagination trying to solve all the problems that the people you meet out on the streets have. As a group of students, we are not experts. That's the first thing that's very important to say. Like, even me, as our most experienced homeless volunteer now, the position I'm in, I'm still no expert on the issues surrounding homelessness. I know a lot about it, I'm not the expert. And what we do is we go out and hand out food. We also hand out an information sheet which provides about 6 key contacts in the city centre, shelters and places where guys can go to get help with it, whether it's housing, getting themselves onto benefits registers, going to classes that they can get, learn skills, or quite simply notifying them, because Manchester's a real hub. A lot of people come from outside of come to Manchester, so making them aware of the services that are on offer. So we're very much a signposting organisation, really, and I'd say the most important thing that we do, certainly on our street support soup kitchen and on outreach, is stopping and having a chat with them and just asking them how their day's going, because that human interaction makes a huge difference.
I'm Ruby and I'm the project leader for Outreach, which runs with the Students' Union, Student Action. So what I do on a Thursday is that we make sandwiches and hot drinks and bring snacks, and then we walk up Oxford Road and then down towards Deansgate and then back up towards the city centre. And if we see any homeless people, then we'll just say, hi, we're from Student Action, we've got some hot drinks and some food if you'd like. I think most of them take it and then usually chat. Well, I end up chatting for quite a while. I don't know about the other project leaders. So yeah, I usually chat for a while and just try and chat to them, like,
Bit of human contact, if you like.
Yeah, not necessarily about being homeless, because I think that's the problem. Like, they end up just always talking about being homeless. So it's nice just to talk about something different. Like, I don't really know. Just see where the conversation leads you, I guess.
So what is it we're doing here at the minute?
We're making sandwiches, cheese sandwiches and ham sandwiches, and then I've just got the hot water ready and just getting all the rucksacks together, and then almost going to go.
Loading them full of tea and coffee and...
Yeah, tea, coffee. Sometimes we have hot chocolate, but I couldn't find it today. So tea, coffee, and then we've got crisps, biscuits, bananas. I did try apples, but they prefer bananas because most of them don't have teeth. So bananas are good and usually.
Once all the food and drinks had been packed into numerous backpacks, myself, Ruby, and the other 3 volunteers were ready to take to the street and see who we could find. Ruby told me that the majority of people we will meet will be regulars and that she'd built up quite a rapport with them. I was excited to get out and meet them all. Okay, so we've just left the Student Union building and we're walking down Oxford Road. What we're doing now, Ruby?
We're just seeing if we can see any rough sleepers, and then if we do, we're going to offer them hot drink and some food.
Okay, and that's what's in everybody's backpack that everybody has on?
Yeah. We've got a backpack of crisps and bananas and chocolate, and then another one with hot drinks, and then another one with sandwiches.
So everybody sort of focuses on their own backpack. They got their own little job, and
it just makes it easier rather than bombarding them with questions. So you can all just like do one sort of thing at a time and have some role in doing it rather than watching other people do it. So.
It wasn't long before we reached our first homeless person, and as the others were getting him something to eat and a hot drink, I took the opportunity to speak with him. Your name is?
John Yates.
How long have you been homeless, John?
This time round, just a year in January. But I've been homeless in the past before, but then managed to sort myself out, got myself a girlfriend and a job, and she had my baby. I was doing really well, but it turns out that we weren't doing as well as I believed because she was seeing someone behind my back. As life's life, you know, you've got to carry on, ain't you? But it hurt me that much. I sank into a deep depression, started drinking alcohol, like you wouldn't believe. You know, vodka was my forte. With that, it was I just sank into a really deep depression, and I'm only just now sort of like days I have that are good. Like today, I'm okay, you know. And like other days, I just don't want to get out of bed. So it's swings and roundabouts really.
Okay, so Sean, we've just approached a guy just then who actually said he didn't want any tea or coffee or sandwiches or anything like that. Does that happen often?
Not that often, just occasionally. Sometimes they've just been given some food or a hot drink and they want to make sure that other people get their share.
Okay.
So they're really, a lot of them are really quite generous. Other people, I think, they might get more money given to them if they're not drinking a hot drink, I guess, to ruin their chances. I don't know how many of them that's true for, but a lot of them it's just that they've just had something to eat and they want to make sure everyone else gets a chance as well.
Okay, so if I can just sort of start by asking your name.
Just John.
And how long have you been homeless, John?
For a year.
About a year. And may I ask how that happened?
Just lost my job and lost my flat.
As simple as that.
Simple as that, yeah.
And how have you found the support since you've been here? Obviously, these guys here today.
It's a bit hit and miss, you know. It takes a long time. The council is claiming that they did a snapshot survey that there was only 27 people homeless, people in the city, you know. But that was another organisation. They only spoke to people who were in doorways, sleeping bags and stuff. But there's a lot more people than that, obviously. A hell of a lot more than 27, you know. They can be helpful with some people, you know, some long-term people that have been really on the streets for years and years and years. It can be helpful with that. But everything just takes so long, the paperwork, you know. Just one of them things, you know. So.
Not long after speaking with John, we approached another homeless man sat outside a shop. As we were sorting him with food and drink, a lady approached us as she came out of the store with 2 large carrier bags full of food. I couldn't believe the generosity of a total stranger as she handed the bags over to him. So just start with your name and what you do for a living.
Yeah, my name's Ella Byford and I'm Festival Director at Chorlton Arts Festival.
Okay, brilliant. And we're here on Oxford Street. We've just stopped to help one of the guys down here, and you've just come out with loads of shopping for him, which is really nice. What did you actually get for him?
I got him some biscuits for his dog. I got him some dog food as well, some pasties, sausage rolls, bottle of water, hula hoops.
It might sound like a really silly question, but why?
Well, I've just had a really good day. I've just been paid and I walked past him, saw him and his dog, and I thought, give him something back really. Just felt sorry for him.
So sort of sharing the wealth a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Is it something that you've done before, or something that you do? You know.
Yeah, I've done it a couple of years ago because I used to live around here, and there was a guy outside the Sainsbury's, and it was a similar kind of thing. I just saw him and thought, you know, I'll get him some food and drink or whatever. So I've done it a couple of times. But
one of the last people I spoke with was Morris, who had only recently become homeless due to family problems. He gave me a real insight into life on the streets. How long have you been effectively homeless?
This is just my second night. Second night now.
And may I ask how that happened?
Just a bit of an argument at home, a disagreement, and I walked away from it. I thought I was right, and everyone thought I was wrong. So,
has this happened before? Have you found yourself homeless before?
The last time I'd done this was, I'm 73 now. Last time I did this was in London when it was about 2022. I was homeless there for about 3 months in the middle of the winter again. Yeah.
This being sort of like your second night, what help, apart from these guys here, what help have you seen or know that you can get?
There's no help you can get. Some of these guys, you might call them tramps, dossers, skippers, anything you like, but they're all here for a reason. Most of them are here for a reason, and they've all got a reason to be here, and they don't want to be here. So they give you a lot of help, believe it or not. You know, they give you advice, tell you where to go, who you should get in touch with.
So there's almost a network between other people in the same sort of situation.
Oh yeah. Some of them are out here just for beer money, and once they get their beer money, they're gone. But like at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, the ones that are out here are homeless. You know, they're the ones you can talk to, and they're the ones that will help you. You know? I mean, in the 2 days I've been out here, I've learned more about homeless people than I could sit in a classroom and learn in a year, because I've seen them, I've spoken to them, and I'm going through what they're going through, so I understand it better.
Tonight, looking back on all this life, it's funny how the time goes by, and how sometimes it slides away.
So what is the alternative to spending the night on the street? Manchester is home to a number of homeless night shelters, but as demand is so high and resources and funding a constant struggle, places are limited, and it is regarded as respite rather than a long-term solution. I was fortunate to visit the Narrowgate Night Shelter and also spend the night with the Boaz Trust Shelter at St Clement's in Openshaw, who cater exclusively to asylum seekers.
I'm Phil Brown. I'm the manager of the Narrowgate Night Shelter.
What does the night shelter offer people?
Being homeless can install a sense of insecurity, of fear, of mistrust of people and institutions. And what the Narrowgate Night Shelter aims to do is provide a safe place for people to come off the streets.
Why is it so important for homeless people, or anybody for that matter, to have a quality night's sleep and to be fed?
Some of the basic necessities in life are food, water and rest. Anybody who's gone any length of time without a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, it becomes an all-encompassing thought. Where can I get my next drink from? If you've spent several nights up at home, you suddenly become very, very tired, and you begin to slow down. You begin to not think quite as clearly, or it takes you longer to come to the same decisions. When somebody's on the streets, the same principles apply. When you start to become hungry, then you start to think more and more, where can I get my next meal from? Where can I get my next cup of coffee from?
Norma Clark, coordinator of the Boaz Trust Night Shelter in Openshaw, tells me about how the shelter is run.
My role is to coordinate all the volunteers, to get the volunteers, and then to coordinate them into the different areas, like setting up, cooking. I usually do the shopping, that's my bit, because most people are working. And wardens to stay overnight, which we have to have 2 male wardens on duty overnight. And generally making sure everything's in place, the food's in place, everything's in place, and everybody knows what they're doing, when they're going to do it, and so that it'll all be ready. Oh, and also organising the minibus, to pick up the men, drivers for the minibus as well. So it's more just coordinating, bringing things together so that everybody has a task to do.
You mentioned that about the minibus. What is the minibus used for? Where does the minibus come from?
Right, well, we hire it from Brunswick Church. We have to pay for it. We were trying to seek to get some of the churches who've got minibuses to be partners with us in the night shelter, but unfortunately that's not happening at the moment. So Brunswick very kindly allow us to use their minibus, and we pay for petrol and whatever other costs they have, running costs towards it. So I will go during the day to pick up the keys, ready for when the driver comes at the night. and then the minibus is. Then I take the driver down to pick the minibus up. If there's more men than what can go in the minibus, I will normally go to Boaz with them. We go to Manchester with the minibus to the Boaz Trust, and the men are usually on the street because the Boaz Trust is closed at that point. So the men could have been walking around for a long time, you know, in freezing cold. You know, it's not nice.
Okay, so I'm now here with Dave Mackey, who is one of the volunteers at the Boaz Trust night shelter. So what are we doing now, Dave?
So we've just picked up the minibus from the church we hire it from, and we're off to pick up the guys. So we picked them up from the Boaz Trust HQ, which is about a mile around the ring road from here.
Okay, and how many are we expecting tonight to pick up?
I would have thought, so the minibus seats 15 and it's usually fairly full, including driver, so probably about 12 guys, something like that.
Once everyone was back at the night shelter and had been fed, I took the opportunity to speak with some of the other volunteers involved with the shelter.
Right, I'm Michelle Taylor and I help cook most Wednesday nights.
My name's Sandra Jackson and I help cook most Wednesday nights as well.
Okay, so we've actually just eaten. It was a really nice meal. Can you tell us what we had?
Chicken in garlic, herb, like a sauce, really, it's like a gravy.
Yes, noodles and mixed vegetables, followed by sticky toffee pudding and
vanilla sauce.
Vanilla sauce.
It certainly seemed to go down very well with everybody that was eating with us. What's a typical meal that you will normally cook? Is there a typical meal?
There isn't a typical meal because with the fair share food, we're not sure what we're going to get until the Wednesday night. So what we get given is what we cook with. But it does usually consist of a meat or a fish, which we work round, providing potatoes, vegetables with.
Do you have any say as to what you receive? Do you have any influence?
To a degree we do, don't we?
Yes.
We get so many trays from fair share. And usually we just, it's first come first serve usually, but we do have it up to a degree we can choose, but...
Yeah, but I mean some weeks there'll be no meat, there'll be no fish, but we keep reserves back if we've overcooked 1 week, we freeze it for the following week.
So you still have sort of meat available?
Yes.
There's always meat or fish.
There's always meat or
provided,
fish. Yeah.
And how many people do you normally expect? Because I believe tonight is slightly lower
quite
numbers.
quiet tonight, usually about 12, isn't it?
12 men, and we usually have about 12 to 15, and then we usually have about 5 to 6 helpers.
The time is now 11 p.m. and the lights have just been turned off here in the night shelter. All of the guys staying tonight are upstairs, and I'm down here with the 2 night wardens. I've been given an air mattress, a sleeping bag, and a sheet. It's certainly comfier than I thought it would be. So here's hoping to a good night's sleep. It's now 7 a.m. and I can hear movement upstairs. I think one of the wardens has just been up there to wake everyone. I actually slept really well. Maybe not as comfy as my bed at home, but it's certainly better than the night on the street. So now it's time for a cup of coffee. Before I left the Boaz night shelter, I was able to speak with Kadir. He explains how he's feeling being in the situation he is currently in.
My name is Kadir, and I'm from Iran. I've been here for about 2.5 years.
Did you ever expect that when you came here you'd be effectively homeless?
I never thought like that. No. If I was going to some countries in Middle East, yeah, maybe. But I choose England and I choose Europe because I thought in England there is a human right. There is something. What human right is? Why are you homeless? Are you addicted on drug? Are you gambling? Or are you asylum seeker? I'm asylum seeker. So let's talk about my right. I do have a right here, but everybody forget it.
Would you say at the moment you're you're feeling more angry than anything else. Are you angry?
I am angry, yes. I'm angry, but I'm not angry at myself. I'm angry at a big country. I'm angry at a big, what they call home office. So I can't do anything about it. That's why all I have to do is just waiting. And waiting, I'm waiting.
Finally, I was able to gain an interview with Manchester City Council to get their views on the current situation.
My name is Alex Delap. I'm the Head of Homelessness Services at Manchester City Council.
More provisions for social housing seems to be a regular statement made. Would you agree that there's a need for more?
The Council's view is that we have enough social housing in Manchester, and we also have a growing private rented sector. The Council does support the development of some new social housing, but it's usually for specific groups such as extra care schemes for elderly people, or to replace obsolete stock. So the Council view is that new social housing wouldn't increase the overall level of social housing that we have in the city.
How big is the homeless issue in Manchester today in relation to, let's say, 10 years ago?
We actually had more families in temporary accommodation 10 years ago than we do now. And we accepted a much higher percentage of the Manchester population as homeless than we do now. But if you look at more recent figures, and this is reflected nationally, that homelessness probably peaked about 9 or 10 years ago and then fell. But we're now seeing a rise in the numbers of people that we have in temporary accommodation. So, I mean, it was a big issue 10 years ago. It's still a big issue now.
What are the current council figures for homeless people in Manchester, particularly the visible rough sleepers?
Yeah, I mean, visible rough sleeping, we've had a very big increase. The last head count that we did was in November last year, and we found 27 people rough sleeping. The year before it had been 15.
That number there that you gave regarding visible rough sleepers of 27, it's a number that I came across reading the homelessness strategy that was brought out last year. Would you say that 27 is that a realistic number, or
that 27 is a snapshot? Head counts cause a lot of concern for people. The head count is a snapshot. That is the number that we found on the night, verified by a government appointee and counted according to the government's head count. What I'm not saying is 27 people is all that are sleeping rough on the streets of Manchester. I think some estimates that people put out are exaggerated, but no, I'm certainly not saying. The important thing for me is not to focus on that number. It's an indicator, as I've said to you. What that tells us is that the numbers of people sleeping rough in the city have grown. That's a cause for deep concern, and we need to focus on that. No, we're not saying that 27 people is all that have slept rough in Manchester in the last 12 months. We know that's not true.
what impact, if any, do you think the new bedroom tax and welfare changes will have on people maybe becoming homeless?
Well, I think it's fair to say that this is something that we're all deeply concerned about at the moment. I said before that there'll be a lag in the time between these things being implemented and them starting to have an impact on people. Yeah, we think there will be an impact. We'll do everything we can to minimise that impact. But yes, we do. I do think there will be.
Since starting this documentary, the reality of being homeless has really hit hard. And the issue I never noticed before is now a very real danger. It's interesting to note that any one of us are only 3 mortgage payments away from ending up out on the streets. So next time you walk past a homeless person on your way to work, spare some time to say hello, because one day you may crave the same kindness.
Stop is neatly planned for a poet